Right. Hello, my friends from everywhere in the world. Today is a very special day because I have a very special guest. Today we're going to have Cedric, and I know he's been working super hard on audio, and he was highly recommended by J Dobies. So we have somebody that knows his stuff, and he's going to be talking about Odo 2.0 because now with Odo you can do some cloud native developments on top of OpenShift. So if you want to deploy to Kubernetes and OpenShift the fast way and maybe the easy way, yes, that's why you're here to watch Cedric to present about that. And let's see if everything works well because right now we have Hurricane Zeta going on top of us. So I hope we don't run out of power nor internet. So fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure it will be a very smooth and amazing experience provided to you by our guest presenter today, Cedric. So Cedric, welcome to DevNation Tech Talks, and the stage is yours.
Wow, thank you so much, Edson. I'm really happy to be here. Let me know if you can still see my screen or just holler in the chat. But this is crazy because this is the first live presentation that I've actually done as an intern since I was brought on board on the developer evangelist team for OpenShift this summer as an intern. And you might have seen some of my getting started with videos that have been posted on the Red Hat developer channel. It's been a blast to make that. And I think the Podman video is over like 5,000, maybe it's 6,000 views. It blows my mind because honestly, like, right at the beginning of the summer, I had essentially no idea what Kubernetes was what I was getting into. But I'm so happy to be presenting today, and it's just a chill environment. So thank you all for being here. It really means a lot to me. Anyways, we've got an awesome topic for today. And as you can see from the title, we'll be doing a wide overview of the new Odeo 2.0 release that just came out recently. And if you don't know about Odeo, you might be asking yourself, well, what's Odeo? Odoo, there's a lot of ways to say it, and you might hear me bouncing between them during the presentation. So sorry in advance. But that's a valid question, as Odeo has only been around for Red Hat product for pretty much since early 2019. And originally, no one knew what to call it. You might even see it called in legacy articles and content, saying it's OpenShift Do, but since then we've enhanced the functionality like crazy, provided support for Kubernetes, and added so many features that I'm really excited to show you today. And so that's how it evolved into Odeo as it is today. And as you can see from the title, we'll be talking about going from code to Kubernetes with Odeo 2.0. And that's great because we're going to be covering both OpenShift today and we're going to be covering Kubernetes. So no one is left out. We're including everyone. And you're going to learn about dev files, which is super new and super innovative technology. And we're going to be deploying a couple different applications during our time here in this next 26 minutes. So I got to keep on talking. And my boss, my manager, my mentor, Jason Dobies is here, plus my team is watching. So this is my biggest talk by far. Thank you everyone for being here. And real quick, before we hop in the terminal and start working, I'd just like to introduce myself and just give you a background of what we're going to be covering today. So I'll give a quick introduction. We're going to talk about Odeo and the new features that are coming out. We'll have a section specifically for dev files because they're so incredible. We're going to talk about migrating from source to image. So if you are working with still source to images from Odeo 1.0 and any kind of version like that, we're going to talk about how you can upgrade essentially with Odeo 2.0 and upgrade those source to images to dev files. It's a super neat process. We're going to deploy front end, maybe even a back end if we go crazy like that. And we're going to talk about Minikube compatibility because we've been talking about it for a long time, but it's finally here. It's finally here. So we've got a lot to cover. Real quick, my name's Cedric Clyburn. I'm a great coffee intern. I actually got some right here. And my strengths are essentially Java from my academics. I'm a student at NC State University in North Carolina, pretty close to the Red Hat office in downtown Raleigh. That's enough about me. I want to give real quick some resources before we start. To download Odeo and get it running on your computer, whether you're Windows, Mac, or Linux, just go to odeo.dev. That's the main website that they're putting a lot of content on, the official documentation, things like that. We've got a cheat sheet written by one and only Jay Dobies, also on developers.redhat.com. And then finally, if you're at home, you don't have your own OpenShift or Minikube cluster, and you're wanting to get started, you can actually go to this link right here, developers.redhat.com/courses OpenShift Odeo command line, and you can get started with your own cluster, essentially on OpenShift through the power of Kubernetes. You can find more information there on learn.openshift.com, where we've got so much more information. But let's talk about Odeo. That's why we're all here. So what is Odeo, and what does it do? So Odeo is a super lightweight and great way for developers who write, who build, and deploy applications on OpenShift to essentially streamline the process. It takes away a lot of the complex parts that Kubernetes and OpenShift have, and allow you to essentially take something like a project that you're working on and put it out into production or stage it or anything like that in a much faster process. You might know of the inner loop, which is pretty common in software development. You're going from code to building to deploying, unit testing, debugging, and that circle just continues. And so it's pretty easy to do if you're on a local computer. You know, you're typing in your code editor, and then you're staging all that in your to your terminal. However, when we're talking about this on a cloud native scale with Kubernetes or OpenShift, it's completely different. It's completely different because there's so many concepts that are more complicated when we're working with OpenShift and Kubernetes. And what Odeo essentially allows you to do is streamline that process and make it a lot faster. So Odeo, again, is that developer-focused CLI, and it allows you to get your code out there as fast as possible. Being a super junior level developer, I've been looking at all the different possibilities of using Odeo, especially with this new release. There's a awesome Visual Code extension for those who are using Visual Code, and there's so many more applications that I've been looking at. And when we look at cloud native development, Odeo it's kind of changed how I think about it in general. And so for this entire demo, we're not going to be using generic OpenShift too much, because for Odeo, it's not necessarily a replacement. It's kind of like a supplement for OpenShift, the traditional OC tool. And so for the purposes of this demo, we're going to be deploying code. Notice how fast we can take our code from simply having it in a project to actually having it out there, reachable publicly, because it's completely changed how I think about it. So I want to talk about what's new in 2.0 compared to 1.0. So 1.0 has been out for over a year. It was great, but what we've seen in this next 2.0 version is the introduction of something that is called dev files. So dev files are essentially a portable file that describes your development environment. So it allows you to reproduce, say, one specific development environment and share that to any other cluster, whether it be Kubernetes or OpenShift. That's why it's amazing that we can actually put it on Kubernetes now officially. It can describe things such as your container definition, projects that you want to clone into your image, predefined commands. So it streamlines the whole process, and it's fantastic. And so what I actually want to do is I want to kind of stop talking about this whole theory thing and actually want to show you a dev file. And so we're going to use Odeo to not only kind of generate a dev file for us, but we're going to look at how the dev file works and how you can create one for all of your needs. So to look at what a typical dev file looks like, I'm going to quickly share my terminal. So I'm going to stop sharing this presentation so everyone can get a quick look at that. Give me 1 second, because we're going to share how you can create your own dev file and what it typically looks like. Are you able to see my console?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Sweet. Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean for that to be there. So what we're going to do to essentially create this dev file is we're just going to have ODO create one for Node.js. So this is going to be a standard template file that anyone can create as long as you have ODO. And again, it's super easy to install. So I'm already logged into an OpenShift cluster on this terminal. And so what I can just start out by doing is just type ODO create, which is the most basic command for all of ODO. And it's going to give us an interactive menu. That's something that I really love about this is you can use your arrow keys to essentially pick which one you want. And we're going to talk about what ODO covers if you haven't been able to use it before. But I chose Node.js. I like Node. Node likes me. It works out. And what we're going to name our new dev file component, we can name it anything. So we're going to go with the default, just Node.js. And the namespace that we want our dev file component to be in, we're going to choose the default as well. And so you can see that it's checked the existence of a dev file, if it's compatible, and it uses a registry. That's something unique about dev files is you can use your own custom registries, or you can use the ones that are automatically provided. It gives you a lot of customization, and that's something that I really, really appreciate. So we're going to be asked if we want to download a starter project. For our purposes, 100% yes. And so I'm going to move this down a little bit more. So what it's done is it's already downloaded a starter project from the ODO dev files. And it's asking for us to push to see this kind of example repository in action. But what we're going to do is we're going to see what's in our folder right now. And you can see right here, we've got that devfile.yaml just chilling out. And I really want to take a look at it, see what's inside, and talk about what's in that bad boy. So the most important part of a dev file, and this is typically going to look like your average YAML file, is this schema version. And this is the only thing that is required of a dev file. They're very basic, or they can be very basic, but they can also be very extensive. Under that, you can notice the metadata, just generic information that you can put with any dev file. Something unique about this Node one is it looks like there's a way to build a Docker file and deploy a manifest. Things that are in alpha, I'm not sure. I haven't tested them yet personally. We can see the starter project that's being built. And so you can essentially list any starter project that you want to use. And for this one, you saw that it cloned the repository into my local directory. Let's talk about components real quick. You can list any kind of components to be used, whether it's any kind of container you want, runtime. You can set maximum and minimum limits on that, which is awesome. And here's the part that developers, I think, are going to be most interested in. What I'm most interested in is the commands that you can execute in an existing component. For us, we've got the generic, npm commands, npm install, npm start, if you want to debug, and if you want to test something. So that's all your dev file really can be. It can be so simple that you only have 3 or 4 lines, but it can also range to encompass whatever you like. And so that's what our average dev file looks like. But as I said before, there's so many ways to customize this, and it's really awesome. So as I said before, one of the things that I was concerned with is using ODO before for the first version 1.0 and anything above that before 2.0. We were all using source to image files. And they're fantastic, they're great, but if we're going to be progressing and using these dev files, we need to make sure that what we have is compatible. And what I'm going to walk you through here is essentially how to migrate one of those source to image files and make sure that's able to be converted into a dev file, and then use that dev file for whatever kind of clusters you want, whether it's OpenShift or Kubernetes. So now that we have that good grasp on dev files, we're going to be importing a Java component into the cluster. It's actually a customized one with an OC command. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste that in here right now. So after we import this image, all right, I haven't gotten that error before, but that's always good to see something new. It might already be in this cluster. That's what I'm thinking. So if it's already in the cluster, we can just use the annotate tool to make sure it's accessible for ODO. So since we're using Java, we're just essentially going to annotate that and make sure it's already in there. And if we're getting an error,
I think the error in this case is that you're trying to access registry.redhat.com, access redhat.com, and you're not logged in. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah.
But keep moving forward. I think if you push, it should work.
Yeah, we can still try. That's interesting. Let me just check one more thing to see if it's already in the components, because I think you're right. But that's kind of confusing me because I thought I'd had it in there or already logged in before. But you know, things never go to plan sometimes, and I'm just happy y'all are all here with me. So let's just go ahead and list the components. And this is something that's kind of changed, not just from looking at the Java thing, but now there's a difference between ODO dev file components and these legacy source to image components. And now you can see that if I scroll a little bit, you see the default registry, and you see Node, and also multiple versions of Java are supported, as well as the same components that you love from ODO 1.0. And if this demo doesn't work, I have a Katacoda scenario that I might be able to run it on as well. So real quick, if it still is able to push, let me see if we can do this. Let's check our directory right now. Let's make an example directory to clone a new repository in. We're going to make a backend in Java from some code that's already in a open source repository. So we'll just call it test, or that's already created. I tend to use the same things sometimes, so maybe we'll do example. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and clone that into our backend folder, and you'll notice that we've got the basic elements of any kind of JavaScript package right here. And give me 1 second. I might have cloned the wrong repository. What we can do is actually import a different folder real quick. So I'm going to cd out of this. Sorry about this, guys. And I'm going to make sure that I have this again.
Yeah, Sebi say that you forgot to cd into the right directory. Maybe that's it. But no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, this is bad. I've had a lot of coffee this morning. All right, I'll go back in there. Thank you for the feedback. This is my first talk, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I appreciate the feedback and y'all working with me for that. So 100%, that's on me. So completely forgot about that. So now that we got the example repository, I'm going to do that one more time. Thank you for calling that out. I appreciate it. Awesome. Cool. So we've got that folder there. So we'll go cd into that. And we've got everything, all the components we need for a standard Java package. So we're going to go ahead and compile that real quick with Maven. And that'll take just a second. Super fast. Very fast. 2.6 seconds. Dang. So now that we have that jar file, it's time to create a custom component configuration, just like how we would do with any kind of 1.0 legacy ODO component. And so what we're going to do is use the ODO create command. And I've already got this to save some time. right here. So you see ODO create. We're using that OpenJDK that hopefully is already installed. We're calling it backend, and we're using binary for it, which is right now, of course, legacy. But we've added this little flag at the end. That's the S2I flag, which is now required if you're using any kind of legacy functions like that. That is not a dev file. But we're gonna knew that would happen. All right, so we're gonna switch over real quick to Katacoda, and I'm gonna run this all again, so you can really see how you can transition one of these legacy S2I images. So just give me 2 seconds, real quick.
No worries, Cedric. You're doing great so far.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Can you make it a bit wider?
A little bit wider.
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Or so, shorter, whatever works for you. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
So
font size, it's a bit small. Can you increase it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Got that presentation mode always ready. So we'll just create a new project here real quick. Maybe
a bit more if you can.
A little bit more? Yeah, I got you, 100%. Sorry about that. I've never had that error before working with the general OpenShift. So I'm kind of surprised. So I apologize for that. But here we're back in a cluster, and so we're going to do the same commands real quick. So we're going to create, or essentially we're going to make sure we have that open JDK on our cluster. So we're going to run that OC command again. I apologize. I haven't seen this error before, and I'm not sure. Do not have access to the container image. That's wild.
Maybe is it a Docker issue? Let's see.
It was running smoothly earlier, so I'm not sure what would have happened.
Well, because Docker now is expiring some images. Yeah, maybe somebody didn't play this build.
I'm gonna find out who did that. But I apologize for this so much, guys, but I can kind of walk you through the whole process. Essentially, you're gonna be just creating your ODO create and using everything legacy. So still using this command right here that we just brought up. And so once you actually create that, and maybe we can actually real quick just use Java instead of OpenJDK. I'm not sure if that'll still work. But once you have that and you're ready to do an ODO push, what you'll do is use a utility command. And can you still see the console window?
Yeah, but now I can see your Gmail too.
Oh, that's great. We need to catch up on a lot of school email, but Red Hat comes first. But there's a utility function for transcoding these source to image files into a dev file, and that's what we'd end up using. And let me see if I can actually get everything ready. So first off, of course, we just clone that again into backend, hop in that folder. Real quick, we'll package that jar file up, and we'll wait for that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move around something. You might see my screen turn off for 1 second. But as that's coming through, because you know Katacoda can be a little bit slower than a local machine.
Yeah, now maybe downloading the internet.
That Red Hat bill is going to be very expensive. Awesome. Cool. So I'm going to share it again. We have finally built that real quick. Can you still see the console window?
Yes, but we can see, there's other windows. Yeah, now it's good.
Great. Sorry about that. First talk again. I apologize, but I'm happy y'all are working with me.
You're doing great. Don't worry.
Thank you. So yeah, real quick, we'll see if we can still run that. So we'll do a generic ODO create. Instead of OpenJDK, let's try and use just Java. Call that backend again and use binary. Let's show them where our current jar file is, which I'm doing this off of memory, so I apologize. And then remember, let's use that source to image flag to let it know. Hold on. Might have put too many. Wow, we can't have nice things. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
Do you need S2I?
Say what?
Do you need S2I if it's a binary build?
Yeah, I believe so. That's how ODO 2.0 is doing it. Is if you don't pass that, they won't allow you to fulfill the command. But let's try it. Yeah, let's try without.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. You're the audio expert here.
Hey, we all have a happy ending. All right, so as you can see, I'm still on ODO 2.0. There is a new update, but we finally got this, and so we can run the utility, which is pretty much ODO utils convert to dev file once we have this ready. And so we're not going to push. We're just going to. Oh my god. We're not going to push just yet. Let me make sure the command is correct again. Dev file.
Think check the audio version on Catacoded.
Say again? Yeah, it should be. I think it's 2.
So that's the issue. That's why it's not true.
So to make a long story short, once you've had that ready, simply run utils convert to dev file, and that'll run you through a process. It'll essentially show you everything you need to do to make it compatible with a dev file, and what it's going to do is actually output a dev file in your local directory, and you can choose to either add that to the list of all of your dev files, or you can just use it for whatever purpose you need. If you're looking to put it on other Kubernetes clusters, you can definitely do that, or you can use it on, in other forms, modify it if you need to add, say, like a different local cloning repository that you want. You can do that. But that's one of the biggest things about ODO 2.0 is that you have that ability now to update your old source to image files. So that's one of the greatest things. If we have time here, I can deploy a front end and show you how it works with dev files. But if not, completely understand, because we're wrapping up here at 12:30.
Yes, so let me see if I understood correctly. So what ODO 2.0 enables us is that I just type those few commands, and when I do a push, it will be automatically deployed to my Kubernetes cluster. Is that how it works?
100%. There's actually a function as well called watch, and I'm not sure if it was on ODO 1.0 because I wasn't using it before. But any change you make is automatically going to be pushed, and how fast pods can restart. That's going to be shown immediately, and so that's another great feature. So really, we've got the dev files, we've got doing that upgrading, we've got pushes. There's so many more things. I wish I had more time to cover, and I wish I had a good PDS that would stay with me till the end. But we've got what we got. So I apologize for any technical mistakes, but essentially, you can do the same commands if you've got ODO 2.0. Highly recommend you try it out. There's that new version 2.0.1 that fixes a lot of bugs. But thank you guys for all being here and working with me on this first one. It means a lot as an intern, seriously, from the bottom of my heart. And it only gets better from here.
No worries, Cedric. The demo gods were on our side today, but it happens to everybody that ever tried to do a live presentation. So what I've learned today from ODO 2.0 is that first, apparently I don't have to type any YAML files to deploy anything. So you just do an ODO push, and everything is already in my Kubernetes cluster. And as you mentioned, and I can see some comments here in the chat too, you just watch and you can just keep coding, and whenever you have any changes, it's going to push automatically. So it's a very nice iterative feedback loop. So can't wait to try. I think everybody watching these videos should be trying ODO 2.0 or 2.01 because apparently there's even a newer version.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Yeah, Cedric, thank you very much. And thank you for watching this DevNation Tech Talk. And we always have a new session every single Thursday. So see you next week. Bye. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.